Why has Marvel's greatest anti-hero, Frank Castle, decided to join forces with the demon-worshipping ninja cult known as the Hand? Well, let's hop into Punisher #1, a brand new maxi series from Jason Aaron, and find out together, shall we? So then, as we join this much-hyped new book, we actually get treated to a flashback of the fateful day when Frank's wife and children were murdered in Central Park. It's a very familiar scene, but one with a new creative twist on it. You see, we don't actually witness the events through the eyes of the Castles. This time we see and hear everything through the eyes of passerbys and first responders. We learn that the two children died almost instantly from their wounds, but Maria Castle held on for a little longer. Keep that in mind because it may actually be important later. We also get a very nice collage of some of the Punisher's greatest moments from throughout comic book history, from his OG days following his debut in Spider-Man, his long-strained relationship with other heroes like Daredevil, and of course the Garth Ennis Marvel Knights years, and even some of Aaron's own work on the Punisher, because yeah, this is actually Aaron's second time writing a solo Punisher book. I feel a lot of people have forgotten that. From there, we jump to the present, where we meet a new group of villains calling themselves the Apostles of War. They're a band of Greek arms dealers who worship Ares and sell superhero-killing weapons to villains all over the world. These dudes do know that Ares is like a guy in the Marvel universe who you can like talk to and touch. He also doesn't have the best track record ever, so I don't know why they worship him. Never been much for religion, I guess. The Apostles' operation comes under attack by the Punisher, who says he's been killing his way through these guys' customers list made up of anti-Wakandan warlords, international Hydra cells, and even a new hate monger in Middle America. Now, Frank is ready to take the fight to these guys directly while also showing off his brand new Japanese-inspired duds. Wow, Frank was deadly enough before, but now he's studied the blade and has the power of anime on his side. A lot of people pissed and moaned about this new design. I'd argue it's no more or less silly than Space Punisher, Frankenstein Punisher, Fire Angel Punisher, or War Machine Punisher, which are all things that totally happened and all things that for some reason got left out of the nice little collage at the beginning of this book. The Punisher manages to shut down the weapons smuggling ring, but sadly he's nowhere closer to the Apostles' mysterious boss. If Frank is this scary, imagine how scary that guy must be that none of his goons wanted to turn against him. Frank and his new ninja buddies return to Hand HQ, which is a massive castle in a cursed forest that can only be found by those who have been there once before. You'll notice Frank hasn't actually had any narration in this issue. Instead, it's the Archpriestess of the Hand who's been doing all the talking. Basically, she says that she represents the oldest and most powerful branch of the Hand, the one born at the dawn of humankind when man first did violence against his fellow man, all in the name of the Beast, the Hand's ancient god. Who, again, if you read a lot of comics, you'll know, despite the Beast sounding super cool and super heavy metal, he also has probably one of the worst win-loss ratios of any villain out there. As we discover, leading the Hand has some unforeseen fringe benefits. Not only does the Punisher have access to the group's entire considerable war chest, but while he was away, the ninjas rounded up a bunch of the worst criminals they could find. Killers, rapists, child abusers, people who talk during movies, and the Punisher is free to punish them as he sees fit, while still going around the world and dealing with the Apostles. But of course, the big question still remains, how exactly did Frank hook up with the Hand? Well, for that, we travel back in time once again. It seems that the Punisher came back to his apartment one day only to get jumped by an entire crew of ninjas. The Archpriestess had heard tales of the Punisher and how he was very well the greatest mass murderer ever produced. She thought that he may be able to pass the Slayer's trial to become the group's new leader. In fact, she was so sure Frank was destined to do the will of the Beast, she quite literally bet her own life on it. What follows is a mostly dialogueless action scene wherein Frank kills ninja after ninja while also showing off that his apartment is 90% weapons. He's got knives in the refrigerator instead of food, a chainsaw in the broom closet, and some C4 charges under his bed. Honestly, I wish that bit kept going. Does he have cyanide capsules in his medicine cabinet? The Punisher wins the day, but understandably he tells the old hand lady to get bent when she tries to recruit him. After all, this isn't the first time a group of villains have tried to get him on their side, but Frank has always remained the lone wolf type. What's stopping him, though, from blowing this Archpriestess away might actually surprise you. You see, the Archpriestess is so dedicated to winning Frank over, she decided to bring a little peace offering. If you know anything about the Hand, they do a lot more than just assassinations. They have also been shown to be masters of resurrection via their dark magic. They brought Bullseye back to life, they brought Elektra back to life, they've brought all sorts of people back to life before, but this time, though, to really get under Frank's skin, they decided to bring back back his wife Maria. And it's on that bombshell note right there that the comic comes to a close. And so that was The Punisher #1, everybody, and before I get into my thoughts on the actual comic itself, I figure we better address that elephant in the room and talk about why this book was probably made. You see, if you've had your head in the sand for the last 6 years, you may not have noticed that the Punisher's classic and highly marketable White Skull logo keeps getting adopted very publicly by real-world white supremacists, neo-fascists, dirty cops, etc., etc. This looks very bad for Marvel and their parent company, Disney. This is probably why they left Frank missing for a number of years following the end of the Matthew Rosenberg run, a run that, may I remind you, tried very hard to reinforce the fact that the Punisher would not be cool with all these people who keep misusing his symbol. The big problem is none of those people read comics or have any reading comprehension at all, if we're going to be really honest, so it didn't help the problem as much as everyone was hoping. So then here comes Jason Aaron, who figures if they can't stop the problem of real-world bad actors adopting the Punisher, then they might as well get super meta about it and tell a story about bad people in the universe quite literally adopting the Punisher as their own. And why, yes, the famously litigious Disney Corporation probably could have stepped in at any moment and exercised their copyright to try and crack down on all of these very obviously black market Punisher symbols. But oh, heaven forfend, that might be taking too big a political stance, and Disney, if nothing else, is known for wanting to absorb all the money they possibly can from everybody. Now, as far as the first issue itself goes, I thought it was pretty solid of a premise. It did feel super familiar to stuff we've seen before, like Shadowland, where Daredevil also became the leader of the Hand and tried to move them in a different direction. So say Secret Empire, where an evil group tried to use the Punisher for their own ends, and even Savage Avengers, which also flirted with the idea of Punisher fighting the Hand, with his dead wife being used as leverage in that story too. But honestly, I don't think Jason Aaron read those stories, and even if he did, it didn't matter, because this is trying to be a really new reader-friendly Punisher story without a lot of baggage weighing it down. I will say I appreciate the air of mystery that's going on in the story. We don't hear Frank's internal monologue, so we don't actually know what he's thinking about everything that's going on right now. Is the Archpriestess playing him, or is he trying to get one over on her, who's really in charge? The idea of Frank's wife maybe being alive again too does also offer up a ton of very interesting story potential. What does she think of what her husband has become since her death? Why didn't they think to bring back the children? If Frank thinks Maria is being used against him by the Hand, what's stopping him from tearing down the entire organization? Also, despite all the people online having little aneurysms about the idea of Frank changing his classic Punisher logo, he didn't get rid of the skull. It's still there. In fact, it's basically hanging out like one big Chekhov's gun, like it's only a matter of time before Frank puts the classic skull back on again. Honestly, the worst thing I can say about this issue is despite all the manufactured controversy and hand-wringing, at the end of the day, this was just a pretty straightforward, pretty safe Punisher story. Maybe that'll change as the book goes on, maybe they'll take some more swings here and there, but for what it's worth, I'd give this one a 7.5 out of 10. It's definitely compelling enough for me to come back for issue 2. And now I await my comment section to turn into one giant open sewer. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.